Welcome to my YouTube channel. Hit the like button, share your thoughts, subscribe and tap the bell icon. The glass hit the sand hard. It didn't break. But the sound sliced through the laughter like a warning. Miguel froze. His fingers still gripped the tray. His eyes stayed low. He knew better than to meet their gaze. Rich tourists always came with a temper, and this group had been drinking since noon. The man in the striped shirt stood up. His voice rose over the ocean breeze. "Is this what you call service?" he snapped. "Are you too slow or just too dumb?" Someone giggled. A woman in a red bikini leaned back in her chair and clapped once, as if the waiter had done a trick. Miguel didn't flinch. He bent down, picked up the glass, and wiped the rim with his shirt. The sand scratched his fingers, but he stayed quiet. That was the rule, keep quiet. Always. But inside, something was burning. He looked around. No one stepped in. Not the other staff. Not the manager who stood under the palm roof with his arms crossed. The beach was full, but people turned their heads, pretending not to see. Miguel straightened up. The rich man waved a hand in his face. "You deaf too?" he barked. "I said bring it again. And cold this time." Miguel nodded and stepped back. The tray wobbled in his hand. The sun beat down. His shirt clung to his back. He didn't blink. He had taken worse. But then a voice cut through the air. Calm. Clear. American accent. "I wouldn't do that again." Everyone turned. A man sat alone under a white umbrella. He wore sunglasses and a black wristwatch that shimmered in the light. His plate was untouched. He looked relaxed, but his tone had a sharp edge. The rich tourist laughed. "What's it to you?" The stranger didn't answer. He reached into his bag. Pulled out something. Tossed it onto the table. It made a soft clink. The waiter saw it first. Then the others. Not a wallet. Not a phone. A gold badge. Police. But that wasn't what froze everyone. It was what he said next. "I know who you are. And I know what you did last summer in Miami." The man in the striped shirt went pale. And Miguel? He didn't move. But something in his life had just shifted. Everything was about to change. Miguel walked back to the bar slowly. His feet sank into the sand with every step. Behind him, whispers floated in the air. The tourists looked shaken. Even the loud one had gone quiet. The manager, though, didn't look impressed. He watched Miguel like he always did, cold, distant. The bartender raised an eyebrow. "You okay?" he asked. Miguel gave a nod. "Who was that guy? The one with the badge?" Miguel shook his head. No idea. But that was a lie. He had seen him once before. Not on the beach. Not in the restaurant. Somewhere else. It was late at night. 1 year ago. Rain on the pavement. Screams in the distance. Flashing red lights. Miguel had been running. He had blood on his shirt. Not his own. He never forgot that night. And that same man had stood across the street. No badge then. Just eyes that saw everything. Now he was back. Back at the table, the man in the striped shirt picked up the badge. He turned it over. His hands trembled. "This is fake," he said, too loudly. "Anyone can buy one of these online." The stranger smiled. "You're welcome to test that theory in court." Silence. The woman in the red bikini looked between the two men. Her tan face had lost its color. "What did he do in Miami?" she asked. The stranger didn't answer. He stood, placed some bills on his table, and picked up his bag. Before walking away, he looked at Miguel. "We'll talk later," he said. Then he walked off, slow and calm, like the whole beach didn't have its eyes on him. That night, Miguel didn't go home. He stayed in the staff quarters, a small room behind the kitchen. It smelled of bleach and fried oil. He lay on the thin mattress and stared at the ceiling. The fan above clicked with every spin. He thought about the badge. The voice. The old memory. Was it a warning? A threat? Or something else? His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He picked up. "Meet me where the fishermen dock. Midnight." Then the line went dead. Miguel sat up. His hands were cold. He knew that place. It was quiet. Dark. Far from the tourists. He had 2 hours. Midnight. The dock creaked under his feet. Boats rocked gently. The water was black. Miguel waited. Footsteps. The man with the badge stepped out of the shadows. No sunglasses now. His eyes looked tired but sharp. "Name's Cole," he said. "I work for a private agency. Not police. Not anymore." Miguel stayed silent. Cole continued. "I came for that man. But I also came for you." Miguel stepped back. "Relax," Cole said. "You're not in trouble." "Not yet." He pulled out a folder. Handed it over. Photos. Documents. A map. And one image that made Miguel's heart stop. His brother. Covered in blood. Miguel looked up. His voice cracked. "He's alive?" Cole nodded. "But not for long. Unless you help me." Miguel stood frozen. The air around him felt heavy. Waves crashed in the distance, but his mind focused only on one thing, his brother. He thought he was dead. For a year, he believed it. Cole pointed at the folder. "Your brother crossed the wrong people. He saw something he shouldn't have. He tried to run. They caught him. But he left something behind. Something they want." Miguel opened the folder again. A USB drive. Taped to a photo. Marked with one word, evidence. Cole said, "I think you have it. Or you know where it is." Miguel nodded slowly. He remembered that night. The chaos. The screaming. His brother shoved something in his pocket. Said one word, "Hide." And Miguel ran. He looked at Cole. "What do I need to do?" Cole didn't smile. "We go back. To the city. You get the drive. I get your brother. We both walk out." Miguel felt the sand under his shoes. His hands curled into fists. "And the man on the beach?" he asked. Cole answered without hesitation. "He's not just a tourist. He works for them. And he knows you." Miguel swallowed hard. "Then we leave now," he said. Cole nodded. But behind them, in the dark, something moved. Someone had been listening. The boat rocked gently in the dark. Miguel sat near the edge, eyes fixed on the black water. His pulse still raced. The wind hit his face, but he barely noticed. Cole sat beside him, quiet. He steered the boat with one hand and watched the horizon. They had left the dock fast. No lights. No questions. Miguel couldn't stop thinking about what Cole said. His brother was alive. But not safe. Cole finally spoke. "We'll dock near the old port. From there, we take a car. Then we go to your place." Miguel nodded. He hadn't been back to his apartment in months. He didn't want to. Too many memories. Too much fear. He had run for a reason. But now, he had no choice. The city lights flickered as they neared the port. It was past 2 a.m., but the docks were still alive. Men moved crates. Loud music played from a distance. A fire burned in a barrel near the parking lot. Cole pulled the boat in and tied it quickly. "Stay close," he said. They moved fast through the shadows. Miguel kept his head down. His heart pounded in his chest. A black SUV waited near the alley. Cole opened the door. They climbed in. As soon as the door shut, the driver spoke. "We got a tail." Cole cursed under his breath. Miguel looked back. A gray car had parked across the street. Windows tinted. Lights off. Cole said, "Lose them." The driver nodded and stepped on the gas. The SUV shot forward. Tires screeched. The gray car followed. They drove through narrow streets. Turned sharply. Past red lights. The SUV bounced over potholes. Miguel gripped the seat. He didn't know if they would make it. Cole gave quick directions. Left. Right. Stop. Go. Finally, they entered a parking garage. The driver killed the lights and drove to the third level. The gray car didn't follow. Silence. Cole waited. Then nodded. "They're gone. For now." Miguel let out a breath. His hands were shaking. Cole said, "We go on foot now. It's safer." They walked for 30 minutes. Through alleys. Past sleeping dogs. Over broken sidewalks. Finally, they reached Miguel's old building. A tall concrete block. Faded paint. Rusted gates. Miguel hesitated at the door. "Let's go," Cole said. They climbed the stairs. Miguel stopped at the third floor. Apartment 3B. He unlocked the door. The room smelled of dust. The air was thick. He hadn't been here since the night he left. Cole stepped in. Looked around. "Where is it?" Miguel walked to the closet. Moved a box. Lifted a tile. There. A small tin box. He opened it. The USB was inside. He handed it to Cole. Cole turned it over. Checked the label. "This is it." Then his phone buzzed. He answered. Listened. His face went cold. He ended the call. "We have a problem," he said. "They know you're back. And they took your brother." Miguel felt his knees go weak. Cole looked at him. "They want a trade. You, for him." They sat in silence. Cole placed the USB on the table. Miguel stared at it. That little thing held something big. Something dangerous. Cole finally said, "We don't give them you. We give them the drive." But with a twist. Miguel asked, "What kind of twist?" Cole smiled faintly. "A fake copy. I keep the real one. We set a trap. But it'll only work if you play along." Miguel didn't blink. "Tell me what to do." Morning came. They drove to a warehouse. It was far from the city. Quiet. Surrounded by fields and fences. Inside, armed men waited. Miguel saw his brother. Tied to a chair. Bruised. Bloody. But alive. He wanted to run to him. Cole held him back. "Stick to the plan," Cole whispered. The leader stepped forward. Tall. Sharp suit. Cold eyes. "You brought it?" he asked. Cole held up the USB. Right here. Send the boy. Cole nodded. Miguel walked forward. Hands raised. Slowly. He placed the drive on the table. The man picked it up. Checked it. Now your brother, Miguel said. The man laughed. You think it's that simple? He raised his hand. Gunfire. But not at Miguel. Cole had drawn his weapon. Two of the guards dropped. Miguel dived to the ground. Chaos exploded. When it was over, the air was thick with smoke. The leader was gone. He had escaped. But Miguel had his brother. Cole helped cut the ropes. His brother whispered, "You came." Miguel nodded. Always. They stepped out into the sun. But the danger wasn't over. Cole said, "We hurt them. But they'll come back. Stronger." Miguel looked at his brother. Then at the rising sun. "Then we finish it," he said. Miguel couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Even with his brother safely in the car beside him, the unsettling sensation wouldn't leave. His eyes darted to the rearview mirror every few seconds, looking for something, anything, that might signal a pursuit. The quiet hum of the engine was the only sound that filled the air, and still, the tension between him and Cole remained thick, suffocating. Cole's hands were tight on the wheel, his jaw set in a grim line. He hadn't said much since the ambush at the warehouse, but Miguel knew what was coming. They had escaped, but the game had changed. They were no longer playing by the same rules. "Keep your head down," Cole muttered, breaking the silence as they drove through the empty streets. "We need to go dark. They'll be looking for us." Miguel nodded, barely listening. His thoughts were consumed by one thing, the USB. It was still in his pocket, a small, innocuous device that held a secret so dangerous, so devastating, that he couldn't begin to comprehend what was at stake. It wasn't just a file. It wasn't just data. It was power. And right now, that power was something they could not afford to lose. Cole turned onto a narrow road, one that Miguel hadn't seen before. The city was starting to fade behind them, the lights dimming as they headed into the unknown. He didn't question it. There was no time for questions. Suddenly, the car jolted to a stop. Miguel's heart skipped a beat, and he looked around, his instincts flaring. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice tight. "Get out," Cole said, his voice sharp. "We're switching cars." Miguel blinked, confused, but he didn't argue. His door clicked open, and they both slipped into the darkness of the alleyway. The air was thick with the smell of gasoline and decay. For a moment, everything felt too quiet. Too empty. A black sedan rolled up, its headlights cutting through the fog like a knife. The driver didn't speak, just nodded to Cole and handed him a set of keys. Miguel could barely make out the man's face, but something in the way he moved told him this wasn't their first meeting. Without a word, Cole slid into the driver's seat of the new car, and Miguel followed. As the engine roared to life, the tension in the air grew heavier. "Where are we going?" Miguel finally asked, unable to keep the question to himself any longer. "To the safe house," Cole replied, his voice low. "It's the only place we can lay low for now. No one knows about it." Miguel wasn't reassured. In fact, the more Cole spoke, the more uneasy he became. The weight of their situation was sinking in, and with every turn they took, he could feel the walls closing in. They passed through several more alleys, turned down side streets, and avoided major roads. They were ghosts in the city, silent, unnoticed, but always on the move. The quiet, however, was shattered when Cole suddenly slammed on the brakes. Miguel's heart leapt into his throat as the car screeched to a halt. His pulse was racing. "What is it?" Miguel asked, panic creeping into his voice. Cole's eyes were locked on the rearview mirror. "We're being followed," he muttered, his grip tightening on the wheel. Miguel whipped around, looking out the back window. The headlights of a black SUV glowed in the distance, steadily gaining on them. "Stay calm," Cole said, his voice steady. "We're not making it easy for them." Miguel's chest tightened as he turned back around. He could feel the danger closing in, but there was nowhere to run. Cole swerved the car sharply, cutting through a narrow gap between two buildings. The sedan's tires screeched in protest as it slid sideways, but Cole held the wheel firm, navigating them through the labyrinth of alleys and backstreets with a precision that left Miguel in awe. It was like they had done this 1,000 times. But even then, the SUV kept coming. It wasn't just following, they were hunting them. Cole didn't speak as they accelerated, pushing the car faster, harder, but the faster they went, the more Miguel could hear the sound of the SUV's engine roaring behind them, growing louder with each passing second. "Turn here," Miguel barked, pointing to a small street up ahead. His instincts were screaming at him now. They had to lose them, now. Without hesitation, Cole jerked the wheel, the car veering sharply left. They skidded around the corner, the tires screeching again, and the black SUV followed them in hot pursuit. Miguel could feel the sweat dripping down his back. His eyes were glued to the rearview mirror, watching as the SUV's headlights loomed closer. "Come on," Cole muttered through gritted teeth, his foot heavy on the accelerator. "Stay with me." Miguel's hands were shaking as he reached for the glove compartment. Inside, he found a small pistol, a precautionary measure, Cole had explained earlier. It wasn't his first choice, but in this game, sometimes you didn't get a choice at all. The car raced through the streets, and Miguel's heart hammered in his chest as the SUV grew closer. They were close. Too close. And then it happened. The SUV pulled up alongside them, and Miguel's stomach dropped. The driver of the black vehicle didn't hesitate. A gunshot rang out, the bullet slamming into the side of their car. Miguel flinched, but Cole didn't flinch. He wasn't going to let them take him down that easily. Cole swerved again, sending the car into a sharp turn. The tires screamed, and Miguel was thrown against the door. He gritted his teeth, focusing on staying upright. Another shot. This time, the bullet hit the rear window, shattering the glass. A cold, sharp breath escaped Miguel's lips as the shards fell into the seat beside him. "Cole!" Miguel shouted. "We can't outrun them." "Not outrun," Cole replied, his voice grim. "We'll lose them." Cole slammed the car into reverse, and for a moment, Miguel's world spun as the vehicle skidded backward. The SUV, confused by the sudden move, hesitated, just long enough for Cole to cut the wheel hard, sending them down another side street. It was a tight squeeze, but it worked. The SUV couldn't follow. For a few precious seconds, they were free. But the victory felt hollow. Cole didn't speak. His face was pale, his hands still tight on the wheel, but he kept driving. The sound of the SUV's pursuit was gone, but the tension in the car remained. Miguel looked out the window, his mind racing. They had gotten away, but he knew it was only a matter of time before they found them again. He could feel it in his bones. As the car slowed to a stop at an old, dilapidated warehouse, Cole turned to him, his expression unreadable. "We're here," Cole said. "Stay close. And keep your head down." Miguel nodded, but inside, something was nagging at him. There was more to this than just a chase. The stakes were higher, the players were more dangerous than he'd ever imagined, and now that his brother was back in the picture, he couldn't help but wonder if things were about to get even worse. This is just the beginning of part 3, and it will be developed further. Would you like me to continue, or would you like to provide feedback before I proceed? The warehouse smelled of oil and rust. Dust hung thick in the air, mixing with the scent of old concrete and forgotten memories. Miguel's steps echoed against the cold, hard floor as he followed Cole into the dimly lit interior. The shadows seemed to stretch and shift, as if they were alive, watching, waiting. Cole didn't speak as they moved deeper into the heart of the warehouse, but Miguel didn't need words. He could feel the danger in the air, thick and suffocating. They had reached the final stage of this twisted game. And they both knew it. No more running. No more hiding. The clock was ticking. Miguel's hand brushed against the small tin box in his pocket, the one that held the real USB, the one that would change everything. The weight of it was both a burden and a lifeline. If they played their cards right, this could be the end of it all. The end of the chase. The end of the fear. But if they made a mistake, it could be their last. Cole stopped in front of a steel door. It was heavy, reinforced, and locked tight. He pulled a set of keys from his pocket and twisted them into the lock, the mechanism clicking loudly as it gave way. The door creaked open, revealing a small room beyond, filled with old equipment and crates that hadn't seen the light of day in years. Miguel followed him inside. The room was almost sterile, the walls bare and the air stale. But there was one thing that stood out, a single, large table in the center of the room. And on it, an array of monitors, wires, and blinking lights. It was a command center of sorts, precise, efficient, and deadly. "This is it," Cole said, his voice low, almost reverent. Miguel stepped forward, his gaze flickering to the monitors. "What's all this?" "Back up," Cole replied. "We need to be prepared for anything." Miguel nodded, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The plan was simple: they would deliver the fake USB, trap the people who had been chasing them, and finally take back control. But every step of this had been calculated, and Cole was always one step ahead. It wasn't just a plan, it was a game. And in a game like this, no one ever wins without sacrifice. "Do you think this will work?" Miguel asked, his voice barely above a whisper. He wasn't sure if he was asking about the plan or something else entirely. Cole didn't answer right away. Instead, he walked over to the monitors and tapped a few keys. A series of images popped up on the screen, showing different locations in the city. Several of the images were grainy, almost impossible to make out, but one was clear: a man in a dark suit, standing in front of a building Miguel recognized all too well. "The man behind this," Cole said, turning to face him. "He's not just a part of this. He's the one pulling the strings. His name's Rafael Vargas." Miguel's stomach tightened at the mention of the name. Vargas. He had heard it whispered before, but never with this kind of weight behind it. The man was a ghost. Never seen, always lurking in the shadows. "Who is he?" Miguel asked, his mind racing. "A businessman. A criminal. A kingpin in this city's underworld," Cole replied. "He's been playing both sides of the game for years, pulling the strings from behind the scenes. But he made a mistake when he took your brother." Miguel felt a flash of anger course through him. "What does he want?" "Everything," Cole said flatly. "He's after the information on that USB, and he'll stop at nothing to get it. But there's something else. Something bigger." Miguel narrowed his eyes. "What do you mean?" Cole hesitated before answering. "The USB isn't just a file. It's a list of people who have been doing business with Vargas. Big names. People in power. People who could bring him down." Miguel's heart skipped a beat. This was bigger than he thought. The stakes were higher, the risks more dangerous. They were no longer just fighting for survival. They were fighting to expose a conspiracy that could change everything. "I've been trying to get this information into the right hands," Cole continued. "But Vargas has eyes everywhere. We need to get it out of here before it's too late." Miguel took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. "So what's the plan now?" Cole's eyes locked onto his. Now, we do this the right way. No more games. No more fake moves. We end this, once and for all. The next few minutes felt like hours. Miguel stood at the edge of the room, watching as Cole worked, his fingers flying over the keyboard with a practiced ease. The monitors flickered, shifting between different images, data streaming across the screens. The tension was suffocating, but Miguel didn't speak. He had learned over the years that sometimes, silence was the most powerful thing you could offer. Finally, Cole looked up, his face grim. It's done. Miguel stepped forward, his pulse quickening. What now? We make the drop, Cole said. But we can't trust anyone. Not even them. Miguel nodded. He wasn't sure who them was, but he had a feeling it didn't matter. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was about taking control. It was about winning. The night had fallen quiet as they made their way through the winding streets of the city. The car was low and fast, a shadow moving through the night. Miguel's fingers drummed against his knee as the minutes ticked by. His mind raced. The drop was scheduled for midnight. Miguel had no idea what to expect, but he knew one thing for sure: this would be the final confrontation. No more games. No more traps. It was time to end it. They arrived at the meeting point just after the clock struck 12. The area was desolate, an abandoned building that looked like it hadn't seen life in years. The air was heavy with the smell of decay. Cole pulled up to the curb, his eyes scanning the area. Stay alert, he warned. Miguel nodded, his grip tightening on the small tin box in his pocket. They stepped out of the car and moved toward the building. Every step echoed in the silence, the only sound the soft shuffle of their feet against the pavement. The door to the building creaked open. Inside, the shadows seemed to swallow them whole. The air was thick, almost oppressive, as they moved further in. And then, they saw him. Rafael Vargas. The man was exactly as Cole had described him: cold, calculating, and untouchable. He stood in the center of the room, flanked by two of his men, both armed. Well done, Vargas said, his voice smooth, almost mocking. I didn't think you'd make it this far. Cole stepped forward, his posture tense. We're here. Let's finish this. Miguel took a deep breath, his mind racing. The trap had been set. But as Vargas stepped closer, a new realization dawned on him. Something was off.